Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Devo with Beau. Hope you guys are well today. Doing good, enjoying. It is June 18th, and it's a beautiful day in the desert. It's nice and warm, of course, but pretty. We've had a bunch of monsoons already. It's been pretty cool. So we're going to be in Genesis 38, a chapter that certainly changed my life. This is a big chapter for me personally. And there's a little backstory to that, but as I was reading through the Bible at the age of 17, which I wasn't raised around the Bible, I read this chapter. And again, it's early on in the Bible. If you just read the Bible, if you're just reading the Bible, you're not in the New Testament somewhere floating around, but you're actually reading the entire Bible so you can understand it. Then you get to this section in what's labeled Genesis 38. And it's kind of sandwiched in between the life of Joseph, who has been sold by his brothers and is in Egypt as a slave, has been purchased by one of the government officials of Egypt. And before we go on in the life of Joseph in the narrative, we get another glimpse into another character or another son of Jacob. And remember, you got it when you go through the Bible, when you just read it, you realize that the main topic is we're waiting for this child to be born. Some child that's going to be born that's going to be the Messiah, going to be this special one that's going to crush the serpent's head. And so that's really what we've been waiting for. That's what the narratives are about. It's all about showing us what is going on in these people's lives. Are these people the Messiah? Is this... now, we can get a glimpse into, is Judah going to be that Messiah? Well, let's see. Let's find out, right? And this is why Genesis 38 is so cool. But I have my personal reasons about this chapter. So it says, about this time, Judah. So this is a brother of Joseph. And it says, left home and moved to Adullam. Okay, so the bro moves. He gets out of the house. And where he stayed with a man named Hirah. There he saw a Canaanite woman, the daughter of Shua, and he married her. Okay, so I don't know if it's much different than Esau in a lot of ways. Esau married a couple Canaanite women himself. And here you see this guy, Judah, doing kind of something similar. He saw a Canaanite woman, it says. And it says the daughter of Shua, so maybe a clan's leader of Canaan, and he marries her. And it says, then he slept with her, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. And he named the boy Then she became pregnant again and gave birth to another son, and he named him Onan. And when she gave birth to a third son, she named him Shelah. Okay, and at the time of Shelah's birth, they were living at Kezib. Okay, so you go away, you leave your home, and, instead of marrying someone in the family, so to speak, you kind of go outside the family. And here you have 3 kids, all with different names, of course, and they're listed here. And it says, in the course of time, Judah arranged for his firstborn son, to marry a young woman named Tamar. And it says, but was a wicked man in the Lord's sight, so the Lord took his life. Wow. Now, that's an amazing passage. When I was growing up, I would have called this an injustice. And this is how maybe some people argue against passages in the Bible. Hey, the Lord took him. And, that's an injustice. Why did the Lord take him? I thought you shouldn't, kill, what's God doing? Is he killing? What's the deal? And that would be kind of the way I would go at it, Not not understanding the issue. Meaning, if you just start in the book of Genesis and you keep reading, you'll see there's a lot of problems with us human beings, and that we are not the creator, and that we are the created, and that we are flawed. Remember what God said to Noah? You guys are bent all the way from your childhood. You guys are filled with iniquity. Man, you guys are tweaked. You're totally going the wrong direction. And you can't do nothing about it, man. You're stuck. You need salvation. Is the composer able to change the composition? Is the painter have the ability to change the painting? Can they put up a note and can they take down a note? When it comes to a composition, a music composition. Of course they can. They are the creator of the work. They're the creator of the piece. They have mastery over the composition. That's why they're called maestros. And that's why when you are in classical school like I was, you take class, you enter into a master class. And the master class is there because the maestro is the teacher. He's the master. And he can pick who he wants to be in the class. He can be the one who's, saying, hey, I want this person to play. I don't want that person to play. I don't like that person to play. I like that person's playing. He can say whatever he wants. He's the maestro. I did a master class with Julian Bream once. If you don't know who Julian Bream is, you could look him up. Julian Bream. English guy. But quite a accomplished performer, composer. And in his latter years, maybe late 60s, early 70s, I was blessed to be able to do a master class with him when I was 17. And you didn't talk back to the maestro. You didn't, you didn't critique him. He's there to critique you. If the Lord wants to take someone, the Lord can certainly take someone. That's the composer. He's the author. That's what I got wrong growing up in my atheistic bubble, in my progressive bubble, was I thought that human beings were more just, that they are more righteous or on the same level as the Creator. Therefore, the Creator can't take life because certainly we shouldn't, this kind of thing. Not realizing that human beings take lives every day. Human beings always are taking people's lives, stripping them of their money, of their talents, of their time, of their possessions, filling people with chemicals, filling the world with all kinds of things. We kill millions upon millions upon millions of people, a plethora of people. All because of our need for water, our need for this, our need to live, our need to this. It's brutal, the injustices on this planet. And yet, do I equivocate? Do I think God is like me? Do I think God, sometimes we think way more highly of ourselves. We think we have something to say to God. And I just kind of go, oh man, today, am I that guy? Am I that guy who's going to say, oh God, we are so amazing as human beings. And, I'm going to judge you. I'm going to judge God, the composer. Hey, the Lord took him. And, then Judah said to Er's brother Onan, go marry Tamar, as our law requires, of the brother of a man who has died. So this is a law, the law of the land, law of the day, right? Your brother dies. He doesn't have progeny. Then you are to assist in this situation. And go marry Tamar. And it says, "You must produce an heir for your brother." But Onan was not willing to have a child who would not be his own heir. So there was a property that wouldn't be Onan's. Onan wasn't going to receive all the bennies that he would if he had a biological, a son from, he and his own wife, so to speak. Then he would have his own little property, his own little section of land, his own little, thing that would develop. But this one was going to go to his brother. So his brother, even though his brother died, he had a place, he had a wife, and those kind of things. And that was, that was going to be the family land, if you will, of that brother. And he was going to produce progeny for his brother, so his brother's, in a sense, line could continue, kind of thing. And but it says, so whenever he had intercourse with his brother's wife, he spilled the semen on the ground. This prevented her from having children who would belong to his brother, but the Lord considered it evil for Onan to deny a child to his dead brother. So the Lord took Onan's life too. Now, this passage blew my mind. It blew my mind for a number of reasons, this section. But I went to school in high school, and I talked to any Christian I could at the time when I was 17 years old and asked them if they knew who Onan was. No Christian at my high school could answer in the affirmative. Everybody said no. And when I told them what Onan did, the Christians in my high school denied it. They said, "Beau, you're reading from the wrong book." They couldn't believe, or they didn't believe, that that was in their Bible. I had my first lesson on reading the Bible when it comes to the Christian world. And that is, many Christians, or people who say they are Christians, were no different than me growing up atheist and progressive. That you just grow up in it. Like, that's how we grow up. We grow up that way. And so we are taught all the lingo. We are taught about oppressors as progressives and people that are being oppressed. We talk about, the people that are the rich, the people that are the poor, justice, social justice, all race justice, all this. That's stuff that's been in my mind forever growing up. And it's amazing how people are raised Christian and they don't even know Genesis 38, which is not that far in the Bible. And that's what blows my mind. It's like, how can you not know these narratives and be blown away by them? Because they're so right on to our culture. Onan, man, is doing what a lot of people do. Hey, I don't want to get this girl pregnant. I don't want the ramifications of getting this girl pregnant. Instead, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to do my thing. And that was on Onan's mind. And it's a harsh reality of the world that this Onanism happens all the time, every day on this planet. People have intimacy, but they're not really about the business of really loving the person, right? They're just about the business of personal, quick pleasure. And that's what it's about. That was my culture growing up. I don't know what your culture was like growing up, but that certainly was I relate to Onan. I can go, man, Onan, I get you. You know what I mean? You want the short-term gain. And you don't really like your brother. Maybe you didn't like your brother that much and you really don't want to do this. And, you're cool with the one part of it, the intimate part of it, but you're really not cool with the producing progeny and, maybe more responsibility that you might have to help out your brother's line. You don't want that. Is a lot of us like Onan? Where you might have heard maybe a teaching on Onan, but you've never thought of it this way before. But how many of us are like Onan? We really don't love people. We really don't want to see people benefit. especially if it cost us something, right? We don't want to see their benefit if it's costing us something. I mean, we'd like to see them benefit, but not at our cost. Now, this is why, like, giving to your church and giving to things and giving to people is so important, because it's putting your money where your mouth is. It's saying, you know what? I believe in what is being taught. I believe in the direction, the missions work, the overall mission of the body of Christ. I believe in that. But it's going to cost me something. See, it's going to cost me something. It's not just, I just go and, hey, this is a great air-conditioned place and da-da-da-da-da, and I just go sit and give you, 5 cents, this kind of thing. When you have an abundance, it's got to cost. Does it cost you anything? Onan doesn't want the cost, man. He doesn't want the cost, but sure, he wants the thrill. How many of us in church are just like Onan? Isn't that crazy to think of it that way? That how many of us just want the thing we want, right? We go to church and what do we want? We want our ears to be tickled. We want to hear the great worship band. We want to hear all those, blah, 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 blah. We want lights and buzzers and fireworks and, turn it up to 11 and louder. I don't want 3 people on the stage. I want 20 people on the stage, right? I want the heebie-jeebies. I want the feeling. At what cost? Does it cost you anything? Or are you just going to be entertained? For your pleasure, for my pleasure. Oh man, it really convicts the heart, right? Then Judah said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, "Go back to your parents' home and remain a widow until my son Sheila is old enough to marry you." But Judah didn't really intend to do this because he was afraid Sheila would also die. By the way, right? So the Lord took Onan's life, by the way, right? And it says he was afraid Sheila was going to die too. And so, like his 2 brothers, so Tamar went back to live in her father's home. Okay, so sounds like Judah's got to take care of Tamar now. It sounds like he's not willing to give up this son, Sheila. He's not old enough yet, but really doesn't want to give him to Tamar, because the first 2, it didn't work out too good. And of course, it must have been hard on Judah, to lose your 2 kids. Man, Michael certainly can relate. It sounds like, and so here we see Judah going through his own grief. His 2 kids have died. Doesn't want to give up the 3rd. And so some years later, Judah's wife died. And after the time of mourning was over, so Judah's had a lot of loss. I don't know if you've ever had a lot of loss before, but sometimes we can get a little squirrely, right, when we have a lot of loss in our life. And Judah, his friend Hira, the Adulamite, went up to Timnah to supervise the shearing of his sheep. Someone told Tamar, "Look, your father-in-law is going up to Timnah to shear the sheep." Tamar was aware that Sheila had grown up, but no arrangements had been made for her to come and marry him. So she changed out of her widow's clothing and covered herself with a veil to disguise herself. Now, a couple things, and that is the way veils worked and the way clothing sent a message to people of that day. Sometimes people get confused when they read the New Testament. There's a passage in the book of Corinthians that talk about veils and stuff like that. And people fail to remember that in the ancient world, the way you dressed, somewhat like our world too, but of course a little different in the Western world. But the way you dressed really signified something. It said something. It spoke, I'm available or I'm not available. And here you see this with Tamar. She changed out of her widow's clothing and covered herself with a veil to disguise herself. And she sat beside the road at the entrance to the village of En-Aim, which is on the road to Timnah. And Judah noticed her and thought she was a prostitute, since she had covered her face. Okay, so we're tipped off to something. The covering of the face at this time meant in that culture that there was availability. There was a way of dress, the way of veiling your face and everything that really showed and said, hey, I'm on Hollywood and Vine, meaning I am available. And she does this. And there are some good history books, by the way, that you can read that kind of go into intimacy and practices of the ancient world that will get into the different cultures and the different kind of way they dressed and what those dresses signified in the culture. They're very fascinating. And so it says, so he stopped and he propositioned her. Let me have sex with you, he said, not realizing that she was his own daughter-in-law. Okay, so Judah's wife dies. Judah's 2 sons are dead. And Judah, it says, and his friend Hira, the Adulamite, go up to supervise the sheep. And so he's got a partner in his job who's probably doing the work, but Judah's got a little time, to say the least. And, if you've ever worked construction before, if you've ever been a kind of a hard worker, sometimes you can get around the water jug and, there's some serious, not good talk going on in those areas, right? Sometimes you can get some bad stories going, at the water jug, during construction break. But here you see Judah notices her. The first thing is, do I notice? And then do I go? Do you see that? He notices and then he goes and he pursues. And that's how we are. We notice something and then we go after it. And Judah's, man, he's got to be, gone through a lot, no doubt. And just like us, sometimes when we go through a lot, we tend to move away from God and move away from what the call of God was. Obviously there was a law of the land, a law, and it is a specific law, the Levirate law. You can look into it, where his last son was supposed to be with Tamar. And obviously he denied Tamar, Shelah, his third son. And Tamar got the idea very clearly that she was going to remain a widow her whole life. And that didn't settle well with Tamar. Tamar was the adventurous, spirited, young girl. And she thought, you know what? I can't do this. So she gets into her prostitute garb. She gets dressed up, so to speak. And she goes to a place where she knows Judah is. And she knows Judah enough. Check this out. She knows Judah's character enough to know that he will proposition her. What does that say about Judah? Hey, I know that if I just flaunt it, he's going to go for it. He's going to go. She knew him. She knew the way he was. She knew something about Judah. And that's interesting. Do people know me like that? Do they go, hey, if you just do this to Beau will bite. Beau will bite in that. He will go that direction. Do people see those character flaws? Because I'm sure she saw his, and she knew exactly what to do. Man. Now, Michael says truck drivers have some of those speeches, some of those chats. Well, Judah, you're in good company, right? Judah was that guy too. Hey, supposed to be hanging out with the sheep, taking care of business, doing work, dirty business, right? No fun. And shearing the sheep, that doesn't sound fun at all. But you know what? Judah's got some time. He's going to take a break, And hey, what do you do when you're on your break? Hey, go find a prostitute. Go look at the girls, right? That, kind of thing. And Judah goes that way. Yeah, I don't want my heart to be that person that is whistling at people, making comments at people. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. That kind of thing. I mean, we all grew up, a lot of us grew up around that. It really shows not only Tamar's desperation, but also her ability to read people pretty well. And it also, the story also, the narrative also shows that Judah, man, is not the Messiah. We get that. He's not the Messiah. He's not going to be the Messiah, man. When's the Messiah going to be on the scene? It certainly isn't this guy. And that's where we get the glimpse of it. And so he doesn't realize it's his own daughter-in-law. And it says, how much will you pay to have sex with me? Tamar asked. I'll send you a young goat from my flock, Judah promised. But what will you give me to guarantee that you will send the goat? She asked. What kind of guarantee do you want? He replied. She answered, leave me your identification seal and its cord with the walking stick you are carrying. So Judah gave them to her. Then he had intercourse with her, and she became pregnant. Afterward, she went back home, took off her veil, and put on her widow's clothing as usual. Oh, the deception. Right? Being deceived. But certainly Judah was a willing partner in this. He dialogued with her. Hey, what do you need? What do you need? Hey, your walking stick, that you're carrying, the seal and its cord and the walking stick, all this. I need that to make sure, the guarantee, right? And so there's, passion definitely can trump logic. Passion can trump logic. And here you certainly see it happening. Sometimes passion trumps our logic. Sometimes we get in way too deep, right? And we give out our Visa number, our credit card number. We give our ID. And when we shouldn't do it. But man, I want that thing. Man, I want it so bad. And our passions go ahead of what really is the right thing to do, the logical thing to do. So many scams, so many things in our day. And our passions get the best of us. We think it's okay. We think it's okay, right on. And we don't realize that now someone's got the upper hand on you. And how many times does that happen in a scam? Someone says something. Hey, I know what you did. Hey, blackmail takes place. Stuff like that. Oh, brutal. Here we see all that going on here. Later, Judah asked his friend Hirah, the Adulamite, to take the young goat to the woman and to pick up the things he had given her as his guarantee. But Hirah couldn't find her, so he asked the men who lived there, where can I find the shrine prostitute who was sitting beside the road at the entrance of Enaim? Now, it's interesting, a shrine prostitute. So this is something that was noticeable of the day. This is a noticeable shrine prostitute. This person definitely was a prostitute, looked like a prostitute, dressed like a prostitute, talked like a prostitute, certainly prostitution, And it seems so nonchalant, right? Hey, where's the prostitute, by the way? Just unbelievable. We've never had a shrine prostitute here, they replied. So Hirah returned to Judah and told him, I couldn't find her anywhere. And the men of the village claim they've never had a shrine prostitute there. Then let her keep the things I gave her, Judah said. I sent the young goat as we agreed, but you couldn't find her. We'd be the laughing stock of the village if we went back again to look for her. About 3 months later, Judah was told, Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has acted like a prostitute, and now, because of this, she's pregnant. Bring her out and let her be burned, Judah demanded. But as they were taking her out to kill her, she sent this message to her father-in-law. The man who owns these things made me pregnant. Look closely. Whose seal and cord and walking stick are these? Judah recognized them immediately and said, she is more righteous than I am because I didn't arrange for her to marry my son Shelah. And Judah never slept with Tamar again. Okay, so Judah finally comes to his senses, but kind of like other narratives in the Bible, he has this kind of wake-up call. And it's one where first you see rage, right? This, oh my gosh, how could you? How could you do such a thing? And it's so important to see this in this chapter, that when you look at other people and you see something, that you have to be very careful that that is not in you, or that, it's not, you're not doing that as well. See, some people look at, like, say, someone who's in sexual sin and they go, man, thank God I'm not like that. But they do the same thing in a different direction. Like, for instance, they might not be able to control their food, or they might not be able to control their spending of money, and they just are compulsive in other areas of their life. They might not be compulsive in that area of their life, but they're compulsive in another area of their life. But they don't see it because they got their mind made up that Tamar's bad. Tamar, you did a bad thing. You prostitute girl. How could you, as a widow, as an unmarried woman, go and have intimacy and get pregnant? You are to be burned. I mean, talk about capital punishment, right? And Tamar's got this thing all set up where she goes, okay, but you know what? The person who did this, and they should be punished too, obviously. The person who got me pregnant, and this is who it was. It was the person who owned these things. These things were given to her by Judah, remember? So he could have sex with her. And so she brings those things out. Here you go. Whoever owns these things, that's the person who did this. And of course, Judah stands guilty. And upon his guiltiness, realizing that he is no different than Tamar, that he says she is more righteous than I am because I set up this situation. See, he realizes he set it up. He put Tamar in a situation that was very precarious and very unstable, and gave her no future and no hope, and she became desperate. And when people have no future and no hope, they become desperate for sure. And she did it out of survival. She did it out of, what's going to be my future? What's going to happen? Am I ever going to have children? Am I going to be allowed to have children? I mean, all those fears and insecurities, man, come out in her dressing as a prostitute and going to seek out Judah intimately. It wasn't because she's so much like Judah. No, she was looking to have progeny. Her property, everything was on the line. And our future property for her kids, things like that. And Judah realizes that. And he finally realizes that, oh my gosh, I got the speck in my eye. Yeah, doesn't that sound familiar, right? Sometimes we just got a speck in our eye. We just can't even see it though, right? Even though it's big, we just can't see the speck. And that should lead us, when we read these things, it should lead us to a place of humility where we're just like, man, am I judging someone in the church? Am I being harsh on someone in the church? Well, look at yourself. Look at you. Are you as harsh on you in your behavior and what you've done and how you've acted? Are you blessed? Are the merciful? Are you merciful on people? Are you judging people the way you want to be judged? Am I judging people the way I want to be judged? Or am I harsh on them, thinking I'm somewhat better than them? Boy, am I glad I'm not like Tamar, but yet I'm like Judah. I'm the one who's the rich one. I'm the one who's got the upper hand. I'm the one who's socially in the more better neighborhood. I'm the one who's got the stuff. I'm the one who's got the power. So I'm the better one. Tamar doesn't have anything. She's the one that needs to be burned. She's the one. And yet, it's the guy who has all the upper hand, has the power. That's the one who's really, really, needs to wake up. You can see it in our day as well, right? People think that they're okay because they got the upper hand financially, socially, their respect, everything like that. But yet, what God sees is he sees us all in need of a Savior. He sees all of us have gone astray. Each have gone their own way. Each have gone their own way. Tamar's gone astray. Judah's gone astray. Each has gone astray. Each of us has gone our own way. And we need saving. So when the time came for Tamar to give birth, it was discovered that she was carrying twins. And while she was in labor, one of the babies reached out his hand. Isn't that a crazy? Twins. And the midwife grabbed it and tied a scarlet ring around the child's string around the child's wrist, announcing, "This one came out first." But when he pulled back his hand, and out came his brother. What, the midwife exclaimed, "How did you break out first?" So his name was Perez. Then the baby with the scarlet string on his wrist was born, and he was named Zerah. Now, this might seem kind of, I don't know, like whatever, but why is this at the end? Well, it's because it's going to be quite important down the road. See, there's going to be a guy from the line of Judah that's going to be a guy named King David, or David. And he is going to be the amazing king of Israel. And for sure, the most popular king of Israel. Probably David's son Solomon maybe being second in line there on who is the most famous. But King David, everybody knows King David. Well, what's King David's line? Well, guess what? It's from Judah and Tamar. Yeah. From this person, Perez, we're going to see down the road, Jesse is going to be born, and then David. So very interesting. And then if you keep going down the road in this genealogy, we're going to get to a person called Joshua or Jesus. And we finally get the Messiah. So a very cool chapter blew my mind when I was 17 years old, made me want to read the rest of the Bible. I just could not believe how powerful this chapter is and how it just opened up my heart and just revealed all of the yuck that is in me as a human being. I saw in such clarity through chapter 38 of Genesis how much I needed a Savior and just how low I could sink as a human being. So, wow. Okay, you guys have a good day. And man, what a chapter to go over, right? You guys take care. Bye-bye.